man, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, the implications of this thing are pretty heavy. And I think we're going to be we might be talking about the pandemic for a long time, but we'll be talking about all the other things that are coming as a result, like the vaccine passports and the unemployment. And I mean, also like working from home, listening to how the guys are talking in the corporate world. I mean, they're just acknowledging that, well, ever go back to the office again? Probably not. Maybe 2 to 3 times during the week, if you have to. If not, stay at home.
Yeah.
And I think that's also, like, I think people, maybe in the back of their mind, they thought that by the end of 2020, this would be over. And that 2021 would be a clean slate. There might be a little bit of residual stuff from 2020, including a little bit of residual from the COVID thing. And, like, we'll start afresh. And we'll all go back to the office, or we'll slowly be going back into the office. Now, all of a sudden, I think the reality is setting into people that, no, that's not the case. You're actually going to be working from home for a lot longer, like indefinitely, if you want to put it that way. And I think all of a sudden there's like a little bit of a stress factor that's involved in it. Because I think people didn't fully appreciate the fact that, okay, this is going to become the new normal. Even myself, not that I was expecting to go back to the office, but, I just think that the sort of like, the intensity of things is just still there, even though, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like work-wise, seems to be so much busier.
Do you think it's an intensity, or do you think it's like this thing driven by the uncertainty?
I think we've been working in a particular way while we've been working from home.
Yeah.
And that, I think we've been like, holding on because we can see the end.
Yeah.
The end of the lights at the end of the tunnel, right? And we're saying, almost there. And we get there and we go, oh shit, it's still the same. Yeah. And I think then it's like, I suppose it's like running a race and the board saying you've got 3Ks left. And when you finish the 3Ks, you actually realize you've still got another 10Ks to go because they got the board wrong. It was actually 13, not 3, if you know what I mean. And I think we've like almost got to readjust now that we know, okay, well, this is how it's going to be going forward. We almost need to readjust in the way that we are working from home. We need to now establish new rules of engagement because, and maybe I'm going a little bit too much into work now, but the thing is that from a meetings point of view, the number of meetings that we're having every day during the week is just increasing. Whereas like now, I mean, at one stage I was like, okay, maybe I had 2-3 meetings during the day. Now I'm having like 4 meetings. They start at like 9 o'clock in the morning. They finish at like 1-2 o'clock. If you've got...
When do you get anything done?
No, well, exactly. You only really start working at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's rough.
When I say working, like, okay, I've got stuff to do. Let's get started. Anyway, okay, we digress.
I was talking to people about that because I'm just looking at my diary now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I had 11 meetings yesterday, pretty much back to back.
That is insane.
From first thing before I even officially start work to after I finish work.
Yeah.
And that's back to back. And then I still got to do all the emails on top of that. Yeah. So this has been like this every day for a long time.
And how do you feel now when you realize, okay, that's how the rest of the year is going to be like?
But everyone's doing the same thing. Everyone's doing the same thing. We cannot go back to normal that easily because we've now developed a new working culture. I mean, if I go back, I have to factor in, I'm going to lose 2 hours a day commuting. I can't just finish work at 7, 8 at night anymore because I've got to catch trains. I've got to move around. I've got to go and buy food. I've got to cook stuff. Whereas you could multitask before. Suddenly they're working, their outputs are going to be less. Maybe I'll have less meetings because a lot of the meetings I have are just with one person because I've got to grab some of their time. It's not like you can just go and grab them because you see them in the office. Now you actually have to grab them in the diary to see them. So, yeah, I'm not sure what we're going to go back to. Certainly from my company's perspective, we are anticipating a more flexible working environment. We're going to have to change all our office setups so it is more suitable for flexi working. We're developing an app which you have to book a desk, you have to book a parking space, you have to book a meeting room, whatever it is.
Yeah, English
So,
talking about that.
so yeah, we are doing all of that stuff. It's not a cost saving initiative. It's just you got to change it because our working habits have changed.
Yeah,
Not the whole team's going to be in the office anymore. So we're gonna have to retrain ourselves. I'm gonna have to change. I can't just figure out, I'm gonna have to fly somewhere. I don't know. I'm gonna lose a lot of time in my diary for the extra commuting. I haven't got that sort of time lying around. I'm gonna have to really think about this.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've digressed into.
Yeah, I know we've gone down that rabbit hole. It's probably because it's been this thing that it's been in my head the whole week. Is like, how the hell are we going? We need to change the rules of engagement. I mean, someone the other day suggested, hey, why don't we just have a meeting-free Wednesday? And everyone went, sounds like a great idea, but how the hell are we going to do that? Because that just means you just move the problem from one day to another. You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's not like you're going to eliminate the meetings. You're just moving them to another day. So instead of being in meetings half of Tuesday, now you're going to be in meetings the whole of Tuesday. No meetings on Wednesday. There might be some benefit to that, but the thing is that you still haven't got rid of the meetings.
Can I make a suggestion, right? You could have like a few meetings. You can realistically cut down the amount of meetings you have by 60% if you change the way we communicate.
Absolutely.
Generally, when I sit in the meetings, my contribution in that meeting out of 30 minutes would maybe be 30 seconds.
Sure. No, I agree with that. And that's why I say that the rules in engagement must change. Like in some cases, we would have rules on the wall in the meeting room that says, okay, this is how you engage in a meeting. You've got to be on time, be engaged, allow people to have, their rules, have an agenda, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I'm saying is now that we've now come to the realization that we're still going to be working like this going forward, right? That we need to now start talking about, okay, right, how do we do this? Okay, so you can only have meetings must only be so long, or, if you're setting up a meeting, there has to be an agenda. If you inviting someone, they need to know what their contribution is going to be to the meeting, and what are they going to get out of the meeting.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like this week, it's now landing up into the situation where I've got 2 meetings running concurrently. So I've got to jump into one meeting and say, hey, please can I give my feedback first? I give my feedback for the first 10 minutes, and then I jump out of that meeting, I jump into another meeting, and then give my feedback there. Okay.
I often had the situation where I'm in 2 meetings concurrently. I'm just running one from my computer and then
one
the other one from work.
I see the same stuff happening here, where I'm on 2, one on the laptop and one on the phone.
Cell phone, yeah.
Both Teams meetings, and you can't listen to. But it's a nightmare.
One
Yeah.
earbud with the other earbud.
I mean, I've got 2 cell phones, and I have been like that before.
Yeah.
But I think, do you not think that? I just think it used to be that you'd have a meeting with a set agenda, and a lot of it was an update. So and so would go with an update, and then the next person would go with their update, and so on.
Yeah.
But actually, you can do all of that ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because people are already presenting slides or whatever, a report or whatever. You can share and give a synopsis of that ahead of time, so people have read it and digest it and understand it. Done.
Yeah.
So your meeting is then cut short to go, well, have you got any questions on this?
Yeah.
Bang,
so
move on.
I think having like what you would call a stand-up meeting seems to work pretty well, as long as you've got the person that's managing the meeting is very good at what they're doing. They need to. So in other words, and it's so difficult because when we were doing the stand-up meetings in the office, the guy could start shaking his hands, and then you knew that you were talking too much. Like now, when you're doing a virtual thing and you don't have your cameras on, it's a little bit difficult to send out that notification. But the thing is that if you're doing a stand-up meeting, and like for instance, like we're doing sprints, so we've got a 2 to 3 week sprint. So then what will happen is that you've got tasks on the board. Before you go to the meeting, you've got to update your tasks on the board. So whether it's done or whatever, if there's stuff to be given feedback on it, you've got to give it in a short and concise point of view. And if there's more detail that needs to be explained and it only involves 1 or 2 other people, or it affects 1 or 2 other people, you arrange a meeting offline to have a meeting with them about that specific issue.
That's actually a pretty reasonable way to do it.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you're having those meetings every day and they're working well, and you like the meeting is half an hour, and in half an hour you've done everything. Everyone's given their feedback and if they are sort of like, okay, we'll touch base for 5 or 10 minutes afterwards about this or that or whatever, that works very well. You know how frustrating it is when you go into a normal meeting that's an hour long.
Yeah.
That people are just waffling and going off on tangents, and it's not well controlled. And like 45 minutes into the meeting, you could, oh, fuck, like we've actually only done 15 minutes worth of meeting. And the other 30 minutes has been people talking absolute rubbish. You know what I mean? Now, I understand that sometimes you also need to vent and just relax and have a, catch up with the people. But that's a separate meeting. That Friday morning virtual tea, whatever it is. Yeah. But when you've been in those sprint meetings that work very well, and they short and sharp and get done, and then you go into another meeting, and the people are just going on and talking about stuff that's not relevant.
Would you think it's like in those big meetings, you like generally in the end people ask like, do you have any questions? And just like there's a long, uncomfortable.
Yeah, like no one's going to say anything because I don't want to.
Yeah, please, I just want to go.
I think that's like, like the more appropriate question is like, is everyone still awake? Raise your hands.
Yeah.
But in reality, the good practice, like even at the general meeting, is that if anyone has any questions or comments, they need to basically post them before the chat. Meeting, in the chat before the meeting ends. Yeah. So there's no like, okay, does anyone have any questions? You just go through a list of questions and then you wrap up the meeting. Boom, done.
Yeah. So I see Alex from Poland is busy watching.
Long, boring meetings because that's when I catch up on email, especially working from home. That's
during the meeting.
Yeah.
But you know what I found? No, but you know what I found is, yes, you can do stuff during the meeting, but you know what happens is then all of a sudden I get consumed into an email, and then someone will, Andrew, what was so what are your thoughts on that? I'm going. Sorry, you're talking to
which
me.
Andrew?
Which Andrew? Well, fortunately, most of the time there's more than one Andrew in the meeting.
Buying time.
So I can buy time by say, was that Marshall, the other Andrew that? Anyway.
Could you just repeat the question in more context for what I do?
Yeah. So
I have a problem. Oleg might have the same problem. Yeah, there's not many Lesters.
Yeah.
No.
Or Alex.
No.
Anyway.